All right, we're live on Facebook. Yep. And looks like we're now live on YouTube. Okay. I'm going to play our little intro and then have our beautiful friends come on. All right. Hello, Mark and Geraldine. Yeah, we're going to be, this is the second of 5 shows today, all couples. Yeah. Thanks for coming in and hanging around. And if you guys are interested in coming on, shoot me an email to sologynetwork@gmail.com or somehow let me know how to get in touch with you. Or yeah. All right. So let me just put on our intro, and then we'll get our beautiful friends up here. How's it going, everybody? Second show of 5 today. We've got couples giving their perspective about what's going on through 4 eyes as opposed to 2, because there is a lot going on. This is a dear, beloved couple, Bryan and Fabienne, and I haven't talked to him in a while, so let's see what's been going on with them. I'm sure everything's just been smooth as butter.
Start the video here. Click there.
There you go. How's it going? What's happening?
How are you?
I'm no worse for the wear.
You got a busy day lined up, don't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I usually end on Friday and take the weekend off, but something felt right. And Morgan said, it'd be really cool to get some couples on Saturday, and see what's from their perspective, everything that's been going on. And I know you guys are both very connected and committed to yourselves, to each other, to your work. You're drinking the Kool-Aid. And so, yeah, I know it's all been smooth as butter for the last few weeks, hasn't
it? Yeah. Absolutely. Nothing to see here, folks. Move along.
Yeah, it's like what is it? It's the typical paradoxical teaching style of the universe to be coupled up in this time because of the limitations that have been put upon us, which means less mobility. And so it's like, on one hand, it's a huge asset to be able to bounce stuff off of someone, and then on the other side, the mirrors get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't know, it's a blessing. I mean, no doubt at all. I don't even know how I went through stuff on my own back in the day, but that, yeah. So you guys look good though. You look fresh.
Same to you. Yeah.
I'm missing Morgan. Where's Morgan?
She's where Morgan always is, on the other side of the camera.
Hey, Morgan, we love you.
Yeah. So, and you guys are in Knoxville, right? Are you in Knoxville?
Yeah. Just
so,
outside of it.
Yeah. So we're in Fort Smith. So I think we would be, I guess that might be like 8 to 10 hours away.
You're still a little ways away from us.
Yeah. Because I know Memphis is 4 hours, Nashville's 8 hours.
Yeah.
My brother lives in no, is that right? Yeah. Atlanta would be 4 hours from there, so you're probably like 10 hours.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, I want to go up to the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Come on over here.
So
we
I
got
was-
a place for you.
Yeah, I was planning on coming on the way to Arkansas. Morgan flew, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna, because there was a big shift happening then, and I was like on the road, and but I ended up, things got so tight. I actually arrived here at 6 a.m. on June 1st, and that seems to be the day everything just like changed. You know, it was like I woke up on June 1st, and everything was just like totally different. I mean, that's how it went for me. But
So I was going to ask you, Todd, you guys, for a while, you guys were traveling around quite a bit, but the last time that we talked to you was before all this nonsense got started. So what do you guys do? Are you kind of staying put, or are you still traveling?
Well, it was interesting because what ended up happening was, and of all places, Fort Smith, Arkansas, right? And so in 2016, October 2016, before Morgan ever came the first time, she would come like in April of 2017. I got jettisoned energetically out of Houston, where I'd been based, where I started Soulology in the studio. And I didn't have anything, which wasn't, out of the norm. And so this friend of mine, this sister of mine, came and picked me up and drove me to a little town in Arkansas called Van Buren, Arkansas. And it's so weird, right? So then I went on down the road a couple months later. Morgan comes. She comes back the next year. When she came the next year, we came here again. We went to Houston. I was doing the shadow work. She was introducing me to that, the boot camp that I talk about. And then we got jettisoned out of there. And what do we end up? We end up in Fort Smith, Arkansas again, I was doing the first live Soulology show, performance and whatever. And so then 2018 rolls around, and I came back through. 2019 rolls around. We come from Hawaii. We drive through here. We got a beautiful soul family here, the Pearsons, and many other friends. And so then we ended up in Florida. We were gifted a house where we rented a little, we paid something for it because of the quarantine. We were down there when it happened. We were supposed to be gifted it a month. And then the quarantine happened. The lady's like, hey, why don't you just stay there and let's work out some kind of an equal exchange. I said, okay. So anyway, that was the plan. The plan was, we're to come back to Arkansas, and so what ended up happening, we came over here. She flew, I drove. I got here on June 1st at 6 a.m. We were both feeling it. A bunch of magical stuff happened. A few days later, she's driving by this place that's had a for rent sign. We both drove by together. We drove by separately. She decides to jump out and take a look at it, and she knocks on the door, and the lady answers the door and says, hi, my name is Morgan Lee. Would you like to see the place? And she says, well, my name is Morgan Lee. And then here we go. So after 3.5 years, we've got some roots, in a very affordable, Arkansas obviously is very affordable. So it's still, it's still a little bit touch and go, but we've got a little Soulology house going here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So we're excited to be not moving around.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that are immobilized right now, and that's kind of weird because the light worker circles, you've seen a lot of people that have been on the move, been nomadic and gypsy-esque, so there's got to be something going on with that. Yeah.
I guess they were being led to where they are needed most, especially in these times.
Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't expect to be in Tennessee.
No?
When I came to the USA, and we were on kind of the same time as you and Morgan.
Yeah.
We met in 2017.
Yeah.
I came here to stay after a fiancé visa and everything worked out in 2018, September. Got married, and we were in Mount Shasta. And then a couple of months later, we were moving back to Tennessee, where Bryan's parents are. And it's good. We were meant to be here.
Yeah, it's good. We're glad to. I'm glad that we got back here and got settled before all this stuff kicked off. It's good to be close to family and roots and ties and all that. So especially now. So how far are you guys from Hot Springs in the mountains?
Well, from the mountains, we're, depends on, in the mountains, I would say probably an hour.
Okay.
Depends on what mountain range.
Yeah.
But from Hot Springs, we're probably an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, beautiful area. We drove through there on our way over here. And of course, that's, as I'm sure you are well aware, very, very powerful
absolutely
energies and these big old Lemurian crystals there and all kind of cool stuff going on over there.
We ended up this place that we found. So there would be, I would explain it as like two subdivisions, like suburban. Well, it's a small town, so there's two little subdivisions, and we sit right in the middle of them on a corner by ourselves, basically. It's really unique. And you go, there's actually a street, there's a cross section right there. And if you go through the stop sign, it's a dead end, a very quick dead end. At the end of that dead end is our driveway. So we have this long driveway in the back of the house, and it's facing a dry riverbed, and it looks like Hawaii. It looks like the jungle, it looks, and so I've seen fairies. I swear I saw an elf the other day. I've seen nature beings. They showed me this portal when I first got here. And I'm like, I was like, okay. Obviously Morgan Lee showed it to Morgan Lee. That'll tell you something, but I was like getting a lot of confirmation, still am, that you're supposed to be here.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know, man, it's getting pretty interesting though. It really is. And it's accelerating quickly too, given the circumstances of, the superficial circumstances of masks and quarantines and vaccines and, all that stuff. It's a pretty interesting mix. So have you guys, how's it been going for y'all? How have you dealt with everything that's going on? Are you staying to yourself or?
Well, what you refer to as, being in this type of relationship, just speaking for the two of us, it's a point of, it's like an oasis with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not speaking for myself, okay? Most of my shadow work is not coming from within our relationship, but more from what is happening in the outside world around me, and dealing with that and shifting back to my center every time, over and over again. I actually earlier when taking a shower, that's my Zen place where it's come to me, and I wrote something down. Do you mind if I read it?
No, go right ahead, please.
It won't take very long.
No, go ahead.
Not being this not being my mother tongue, sometimes I'm not the best public speaker, I would say. So that's why it's easier for me to, when things come to me, write them down, organize my thoughts, and then give them to someone.
I'm a native speaker, and I do the same. It's okay.
Okay. So let me get this is now 6 eyes. Eyes, contacts, and reader. Okay, here we go. So many of us are truth seekers, and it's a journey. I believe that as we grow and mature, we open up to higher truths. Further along our paths, our previous truths sometimes are no longer valid or are expanded on. Sometimes when we get to a higher vantage point, we even see that opposing truths in some miraculous way are both valid.
Yeah.
In our search of truth, we can still hold fear of being misled or taking on a truth that is or might be quote unquote wrong. But why? This sub-universe is one where the creator through each and every one of us experiences creation in infinite ways. And in our search on our path of growing and expansion, we are all on our individual journey that ultimately will lead us back to source. I try my very best every day to be love and to hold no judgment over others or over myself. And guess what? I make mistakes, I fall down, but I also stand up, brush myself off, and try to do better again. Almost there. I firmly believe that the higher frequencies that have been coming in and are continuously washing over us at this time through the Lion's Gate will lift us all to a point where it's much easier to let go of all remnants of fear and separation into knowingness, expansion, higher frequency love, compassion, and non-judgment.
God,
Sorry.
you just made a Morgan face. That's when she gets that.
Who those higher frequencies are bringing up to the surface, all of those old, sometimes ancient. And I'm thinking Lemuria and Atlantis, memories of experiences that were jarring. And I would like to invite everyone listening to be kind to yourself, to find peace in who and where you are. Beloved son or daughter, or Father, Mother, God, to spend more time than ever before on self-care, recharging in nature, and on gentle self-reflection of what is happening in your experience, and to garner the wisdom from that. You are a great being of light who is slowly remembering its true God nature. I and we see you and send you all of our love and blessings. And please do try every chance you get to focus on that which lights your heart with joy.
Well said.
God,
Well said.
how are we going to follow that up?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, so much. I pulled something in last night that's almost the same thing, and I wrote it out last night and posted it. But it's almost like, you know, like listening to you, and whew, if that's what you can call it. It's like you know, as a revelation energy. Like it's just like waking up dormant stuff in me listening to you, or bringing back memories, or whatever you want to call it. But it's like the war is over. You know, it's like the wars are over. The little battles, the little, you know, I got to be right, and you know, it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but you got very, very close to it in terms of the way my mind thinks.
Yeah,
Like,
and like I said, we fall down. We fall, you know, it's like 2 steps up, 1 step down,
Yeah.
2 steps up, 1 step down. I learn through repetition, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to bump my heads like 10 times before I get it. Sometimes once is enough, depending on where my strengths and weaknesses are, if you can call it a weakness.
Yeah.
It's more like an opportunity of further expansion. Anywho,
That was
Wow.
beautiful.
thank you for letting me share that.
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, we should be thanking you. I mean, and so much too with this whole, you know, we always think of separation as us and them, you know, or two sides of a, you know, the 0 point. But like listening to you, like so many things come up, like you were talking about, because Morgan pulled up this week, self-neglect, you know, like at a deep, deep, deep level. And some of her friends did, you know, and she felt very collective. And the impact of all the subtleties of where we give our power away, which is really all equating to lack of self-love or self-worth, right? And so as I'm listening to you, I'm hearing like, you know, that separation that we see out there, it obviously is in here, and this is what we're becoming conscious of. So the self-judgment is huge, and then of course it parlays into the self or the judgment of others, or the judgment of events or things, and this is going away. And that's a painful proposition, because every time we eradicate judgment, we're eradicating identities.
Right.
You know, and you know, and kind of like points on the you know, points on our evolution. You know, they're not even real. They're not there anymore.
And
But-
there's another facet too. If you look at the Starseeds and the light workers that came here to be of service, before this meeting, we joined our Tilghman family in meditation.
today.
And yes, like an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell what Jonathan said about the not trying to save the world?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Todd, I'll share.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So this comes from my higher self. He says that so many of the starseeds or old souls have been awake for years already. Some of the older starseeds were among us, fully aware and participating in the harmonic convergence of 1987.
Yeah.
Right? You know, some of those that came before us and are still here.
Yeah, and going strong.
And going strong. And then, of course, we had 2012, in which those energies started to assist a lot of us in waking up, and that's really when I started my path of awakening. So. And so he says, and that even many more still are coming into new levels of awareness within this past year or two. And so we can see that the momentum is really gaining now. It's really picking up speed. And so up until now, many of us have been guided to kind of be hammer down or full throttle in regards to our work on the inner planes or the spiritual realms. This includes the path of self-mastery, which is it's a lot of study and learning and research. It's a lot of healing, cleansing and clearing of our physical, emotional, and mental bodies. Learning to find the still point and balance within us, learning higher truths, learning how to properly utilize tools such as the violet flame, for example. Often waking up exhausted because our guides have had us out working all night long and we feel like we just didn't get any sleep at all. And so all of these things have been paving the way for others. And this has been appropriate as our energies and participation were requested and necessary to carry forth and expand the momentum of love and light coming onto the planet. That momentum has grown quite strong now and is growing by the day as more and more come into their own truth and awakening. As they do, they begin sharing the heavy load and burdens that up until recently, the few have carried. Many of us, although we may feel exhausted at the soul level, still feel the drive to push forward. We are informed today that this same high level of drive is no longer required. It is not our individual responsibility to carry the full load and burden of the collective. It is not our personal obligation to do so. And so it's not that we're being asked to disengage or to become apathetic, but to be reminded that we do not have to carry these burdens alone. There are many more now, both from a cosmic and galactic perspective, as well as a human perspective, who are now sharing the load. It is important that we allow ourselves the space for self-care, reflection, and balance. It is okay for us to let off the gas pedal just a bit and coast when we need to. This is a marathon, not a sprint. The advice we were given today was to have fun.
Lighten up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was I don't even know if it's a man or a woman, a YouTube subscriber that put up an incredible commentary as a comment. And you can, I'm not going to read it, but that you can tell that he or she was one of those early forerunners. And they brought up a couple of points that, they start off by saying all bodies are now in touch with the original templates. There's absolutely nothing we need to do except listen to our bodies and make sure our central nervous system stays calm. The body is taking us through a universal rewrite. The mind is only needed now to complete 3D duties. And I love this part. We do not have linear coordinates anymore. We are on spherical coordinates, lodged in quantum timelines. And it basically, they go on to say we were designed to be awakened. And I love how they end this. They said, my body vehicle is going on a crystalline process already. Shimmery skin, hair, nails, my body is going through a plasma crystalline process. Almost looks like selenite under light.
Nice.
Thus, I humbly ask, please just enjoy this ride. The older paradigm, self-importance, to be something and get somewhere, no longer relevant. And then they said, the most important gift is being human, embracing our humanity. Even though my body has gone through a phenomenal process, they said, I am human more than ever. And of course, you know how I feel about that. But the human is the hero. But I mean, yeah, that's the spirit of what you were saying, is what they were saying, is like, ease up a little bit, I mean, back up a little bit. It's going to be all right. It's more than all right. Like, and I keep getting this too in this year's, with everything we've been through, I think we have done an incredible job that we have we don't even have an inkling of how well we've done. And a lot of people that are connecting, channeling, all that, and our own sensitivities and intuition tell us that we are like the darlings of the universe, man. Like, they don't even know what's going to happen. Like, they don't even know how we're going to do this. Like, they're learning through us as much as they've helped us to remember, So it's mind blowing.
It is
It really
mind blowing. It is. And I know that we are, although it doesn't always feel like it, I know that we're all privileged to be here and to be a part of this great shift that's taking place. And I tell you, just speaking for myself personally, I absolutely feel as if I am walking between worlds, and I think we both do a good job together of staying in that still point and balance. But I'll be honest with you, I do find myself kind of, I'm watching events on the 3D level as they unfold. I think it's all very fascinating, and I do have to be careful not to allow myself to get too involved in the 3D. It's
right.
easy for me to get riled, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot for me personally. My guides, when they're talking to me, a lot of times this is the encouragement that I'm getting, and they understand why. And a lot of us do. I mean, if you are somebody who has any recall whatsoever of previous times and experiences here on this planet, we'll use Atlantis as an example. And if you were somebody who was there, standing in the presence and expression of light, of love, and you witnessed and went through those events, we'll just call it the fall of humanity, the fall of beautiful, beautiful civilizations, and of why those events took place, of how they took place, of who those beings were. And those beings, many of them are still here today. So speaking for myself, I know that I have a resonant memory of some of those times like Atlantis. And there is a part of me that does get riled. I do want to put my fist on the table and say, stop the bullshit, folks. We're not doing that again. That's not the way we're going this time. We're going a new path. We're going a new direction. Let's go. Wake up. Let's go. We got things to do. And so I feel kind of that push, that momentum. And so that's where my guides come in and tell me, like, easy, big boy, just let off the gas a little bit. You don't have to take all this. We got it. We got it. It's all good. And I'm like, are you sure it's all good? Because it doesn't look all good out here.
Well, that's it. That's it. I mean, this whole thing, you try to explain it, you try to say this and you try to say that, or all of us do. And it's really feeling, it's really sensitivities, right? I mean, it's instinctive, it's intuitive,
right.
And, I make a joke, like, it's like, you can't work your way through this with your sphincter muscles all tightened up and constricted, and there's a relaxation to this natural nature that we have. It's a very natural unfoldment, and it's taken a little getting used to. But man, you're bringing up some really good points, and I think this must be coming to the surface because of what I was just referring to a minute ago. Last night, my friend Martin McNichol from UK put up an incredible post. Incredible. Did you read that? I mean, he brought it up in a way that there was no finger pointing. There was no superiority, inferiority. There really wasn't even any judgment. He was just saying, here's my experience. Here's what I'm observing. And what he was really it's all tied together, right? And, saying that, I mean, to me, it's like this. We know that if we because I'm like Bryan, I've got to keep myself in check or I'm going to go and what happens? You're going to one end of a polarity, one end of the spectrum. You're taking a position, and you are. And there's nothing you can do about it, no matter how righteous you think you are, because we can't even understand this yet. But in the middle is where we reside. And I think part of the evidence for that is this immobilization of all of us being in certain spots. And I bet if you took the globe and you put a light where every one of us was, we would make a whole lot of sense about it. I mean, we're holding down the grid, the new grid, as the other one crumbles.
Exactly right.
We really are.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And is significant in terms of collective influence that even one soul, but certainly a couple, can have or has is I think been grossly underestimated. Just the interaction between people or what happens in our little circle of life experience on a day-to-day, moment-by-moment basis is actually what's dictating everything. It's not our words, and it's actually, and I think somebody said it a minute ago, one of you did, about go easy on yourself and go easy on each other. We're all gone through the same thing.
Right.
My pain's just as the same level as yours, proportionate to my life experience. It may not look the same on the surface, but at a proportionate basis, we all went off the charts here.
Right. we're all in emotional rehab down here together. So yeah.
We're the vehicles for the universe's emotional rehab.
Emotional rehab.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, I mean, it's true. I mean, we've got the collective, and it's not just humanity. It's Gaia. It's all the kingdoms, the elemental kingdoms.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
There's
it
no
is.
doubt.
It's emotional rehab. We're learning how to heal ourselves and how to come back in, you know, moving away from the material world back into our true spiritual nature and our own God's truth within each one of us. And, you know, and so this is the shift, and yeah, it's certainly it's not always easy, is it?
Well, I think it's getting easier, but you know, what you read first was like, it wasn't even like, I probably could sit down, turn off the computer and write and maybe pick up 20% of what you actually said, but it was the frequency. And I even made the comment, oh my God, you just made a Morgan face. Like when she goes there, when that part of the goddess is, you know, and that, like that, it's like a smile with tears. It's weird. I can't explain it, but it's like, you know, what you presented there at first is what's, I think, the big impetus for all of this change and transformation. More and more women are stepping up. You know, I can even look at the last week. I had 3 or 4 of them come on the first time. I'm reluctant to come on. I'm getting hands on my back. I'm told I got to go and do this. And then it's like, oh my God, this energy, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do in the presence of that? We had an incredible transmission last night, you know, I mean, and it was all along those lines. Like, you know, it's inexplicable, but what I'm seeing is this feminine energy in everyone is being ignited, that's been suppressed. And then of course the masculine will follow suit. And we're seeing this dance, and it's happening rapidly. It seems to be happening very rapidly since this summer started.
We call it getting dosed up. We just kind of laugh at each other and we say, oh, did you get a dose? And, you know, what that means to us is that, you know, we have so many of our family on the other side of the veil, and they tell us that we're never alone. And we hear that so many times. You're never alone. We're walking right beside you. And we hear that and we want to believe it. But in this experience, in the 3D suit and whatnot, you know, sometimes it's difficult for us to really believe that or understand that. And so part of this process, the shift that we're all going through together, again, is the reconnection with our own heart space and our own divinity within us. And once we are able to kind of break down some of those barriers of what is not, what's real, what is not, what's possible, what is not, get rid of some of that stuff, come into the heart. And then what we find, Fabienne and I, all the time is that, I mean, it happens to us all the time, where we might be in prayer, we might be in meditation, whatever the case may be, and we may speak to our brother JC, we may speak to Divine Mother Mary, whatever the case may be. And as we are putting our attention and heart energy on the Divine Mother Mary, well, guess what she's doing? She's just flooding us with her beautiful and sweetness, compassion, divinity, unconditional love. And when we're allowed to open our own hearts to feel that and allow that to come flooding in, yes, you're going to have an emotional reaction. It's a beautiful thing. Why wouldn't you? And so I think this is more and more people, and this is my hope for humanity, is that anyone who would choose to do it with just a little bit of practice, a little bit of faith, a little bit of work, that this level of love and guidance and knowing these are our divine birthrights. It is a gift, truly is a gift, but it's also our divine birthright. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I think that's how we're going to get through this.
Yeah, it's our natural nature. And when that feminine, like Fabienne just did, when that happens, it's like you were describing to Mother Mary showering you, or it's like, I just melt. Like I just said to her last night, when I don't speak a lot when we lay down, and I just said to her, I can surrender to that. That's not a problem.
Absolutely.
Like,
Right.
I'm just letting you know, if you didn't know, I've told her before, but when we've had these type of sessions, but it was just like, and I don't remember exactly, but it was the same energy of what you were presenting earlier. And I just said to her, yeah, I can surrender to that. There's no problem there. There's just FYI, it's like she's creation, that's it. And then there's this expansion with the addition of the masculine, So last night I was driving to the store and I ran over a possum.
Oh.
Right. I mean, it was no way I could avoid it. And so immediately I went into, because we have a lot of animals out here, possums, raccoons. I mean, and I was like, okay, and what are you trying to tell me? I went right into that. And they're like, okay, first of all, anything can be removed in from the human perspective, anything. So in other words, it was about attachment, detachment. It was about reality and so on. And, but then as I stayed with it, it went into something else. And it said, look, you guys, nobody knows how this is going to go. We're actually drilling down to unseen levels of polarity. So we're throwing in extremities of polarity in an already extremely polarized realm. And so I'm like, what does that mean? They said, oh, like you don't even know how deep this will go. Like the potential here is for every belief that anyone has to be shattered, no matter what it is, no matter how devout you are.
Right.
And I said, well, how does that work? Isn't there a baseline truth? And they're like, no. Yes and no. Yes, you will always know that in the worst case scenario, you can fall back into the eternal arms of Mother Universe, quote unquote. And I said, well, what's the flip side? She said, well, the flip side is this. The flip side is when you take this polarity to this level that you guys are at. That's why nobody knows what's going to happen. And you can actually create a higher truth by creating a higher surrender. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like things that you absolutely stand firm on. Any connection you have, anything you think you know, your conception of God, goddess, whatever it is, to actually surrender to not even knowing that. And that's what they showed me. This is where new creation energy, this is how the universe expands. This is how the mother expands through her own seeds, through her own fractals, stepping in, faith, the old saying, faith is fearless and fear is faithless. I mean, this is what it's all about. How far do you want to go?
That is beautiful. Yeah, those are wise words there. I'll try to take those to heart later this afternoon.
Well, you got somewhere to go? You got to go to the market and put a mask on.
No, I mean, again, just for me personally, I find myself a little bit torn. Like I said, definitely feel like I'm walking between the two worlds. I'm sure, no doubt, there's some whatever ego, personal human identification, belief system stuff going on. Obviously, that's part of the makeup. So I'm not going to shun it, not going to deny it. It just is what it is. But I kind of feel like it's almost, for me, it's like on the one hand, we want to back off stay in that still point, the 0 point of creation and beauty and all of those good things and that good work that we do in that place. But then there's another part of me that is like here on the earth plane in the human suit. It's like, well, I didn't come down here to ride the pine.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like a part of me feels like I want to be somewhat involved, aware, participating. And so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm trying not
Well,
to.
I think that you answered that question earlier with what you got.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and to your expression there, I read this morning an incredible post called "The New Higher Masculine Revolution" by Sophie Bashford.
Okay.
And Morgan had been telling me similar things for a while. And I think what you're exuding, I mean, because you actually answered your question a while ago with your transmission that you shared with us.
Right.
But that was that part of what's happening is, you know, we've had a lot of talk and discussion. And of course, 80% of the of the people in these communities tend to have been women. And so that energy's been prevalent. That energy's been leading the way. Now what's happened, and what Sophie Bashford was talking about, what Morgan has talked about, is what's happening to the masculine energy. Like it's and I can feel for you, brother, because I've been in the same boat. I'm like, okay, where's everything? Where's my manhood? Where's my muscles? Where's my balls? You know, where's everything is gone? Yet I've been rebirthed. I'm getting layered and layered and layered of this new power. And it's a power of resolution without destruction. The war gene's gone. It's a colossal compilation of stuff that I don't have my arms around yet. So therefore I continue to look at what brought me to the party. You know, and I continue to look at that feminine energy. They don't call it women's intuition for nothing.
Right.
So obviously they're getting the information. And I also recognize that my feminine inside of me is doing the same. It's starting to become cognizant. You know, it's starting to develop a communion or a line of communication or connectivity. And of course it's being, you know, that's what this whole trip is. So what's so great about this trip is that we've externalized what's happening inside of us. So it just you know, exponentializes our breakthroughs. And I think that's where I'm trying to focus myself is, you know, what can I do to create more illumination all the way around? But I definitely can see now, has been forecasted, that the energy of she, the feminine, the goddess, is taken over. And really, I don't mean that in a bad way, because there'll be equality in the end, but we have to give up all the power. I mean, that's all there is to it. And those subtleties of the masculine, or let's say the patriarchal imprint on both men and women, but really the men being the vehicle primarily, are so deep. Like so deep. Like everything has, because it's a codependent frequency we're coming out of. I find myself questioning, do I open the door for this woman? Do I do these Southern Southern cultural mannerisms? Do I, and I'm like going, oh my God, how deep does this go? Equal is equal. So why was I doing that? You know, you're questioning everything. But I guess what I'm trying to say in the end is, like, as I'm starting to understand, and I've got a great mentor with Morgan, is, you know, we've got to give it all up. And that's not an easy thing. That's every conversation. That's every transaction. That's every typical, process, label, role. I mean, everything gets blown up.
I kind of see it as a blending, in the sense that when I watch Bryan, he has this fierce warrior, Archangel Michael energy in him. And at times I've seen him go through a surrender so deep that it makes me cry. And the way I perceive it, and this may be different from his experience, but this is how I see it, is there's this huge warrior-like energy. And I mean warrior in the best sense, the protector of all that's good and beautiful. And then there's also this softer energy of the divine feminine, which completely permeates him when he's in that state of surrender. And it has been like in waves, and now I see it go more blending.
Yeah.
So it's becoming a new whole, a new.
And that's what Adama had given me a talk about that at some point, that as we go through these higher energies and we learn how to balance, he says that this will be the result of this shift in these new energies, is that each one of us, doesn't matter if you're in the body now as a masculine or feminine, but that we would begin to balance. And that from a place of balance, depending on the situation, that we could more or less choose what is the appropriate energy to respond with. And so that is, we are all aware of what we would typically refer to as the virtues or qualities of the feminine versus those of the masculine, and that we would be able to kind of self-guide, self-direct ourselves in a way that is in the best interest for ourselves and others. And I do get that, and it looks great, and it's something that I'm striving for, but all this stuff that's going on in the world now is just bringing out the lower natures. Like somebody needs an ass whooping around here, Todd. That's all I gotta say. I know that's not nice, but it is. I do find myself a little bit frustrated by the unfolding of it all. And
well, you're exemplifying the what Sophie Bashford is talking about. You're exemplifying the struggle, yeah. and it isn't about, and we know this, it isn't about anybody else. It's not even about our partner. It's about us, and that's what was coming in last night. Was like they were saying, look, how this goes is how it goes in here. There ain't nobody else involved here. The higher truth, the opportunity and potential for a higher truth is going to come from each one of us. And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Right. This is how it broke up. But to what you were saying a minute ago, Fabienne, is that softness, right, is obviously not the way the world was built. It was built square, right? It's a round flowing, element that was missing. That's primarily represented by the female incarnation. But giving that up to that, surrendering to that, is vital. Not only from the men, but from the women, because just because you're a woman doesn't mean you got it. You've got the direct link, and there's the women intuition. But at the same time, you got to remember whatever's happening inside of man or woman, there's the other gender that they're not physically identified with, that's either over in the majority or in the minority. And we're talking about balance here.
Right.
So it's I think it's great what you're saying. I think it's great to be open about it, and but I would make jokes too, and I would be watching a movie and I'd say, Morgan, that dude needs his ass kicked, and and as you're saying the words, you're just like going, oh, this isn't it anymore. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't stick.
No, it doesn't work anymore. But I mean, too, I think it's important for us all right now as we're going through this together. I mean, for us, it's important to be authentic, right? We're just being real with you here, and you know, right, wrong, or indifferent. You know, we're kind of expressing, you know, how we're going through it, and just, you know, just being honest about it. We can't, you know, I mean, everybody is dealing with this in their own way, but no doubt, you know, make no mistake, for every human on this planet right now, there are added challenges, added stressors, which, you know, we can utilize for our individual and collective benefit if we can just hold the wisdom to get through it that way. But I think for me, it's also okay not to dwell on it, but to be honest about it, you know, to be honest about how we're perceiving things, and how we're feeling things, and how we're processing things. And because that's all part of the experience. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, you know, I'm sure in some life past, I was up in the monastery in Tibet, hanging out, having my rice and tea all day, away from the civilization. And when you're in the monastery, it's a lot easier to stay in this place of balance and harmony and heart-centeredness. But when you come out of the monastery and you get down into the real world, new challenges come in, right? So, and that's what we're all being faced with right now.
Yeah. I saw this speech the other day. I just happened to pick up on it, and I don't know the lady's name. She's a fairly well-known politician, senator, I think, in the U.S. I believe she's got some ethnicity to her, you know, Hispanic or maybe African-American, or a mix, but she's pretty well known. And so she gave a 10-minute speech on the floor, and she's a pretty powerful lady. And so the point wasn't what she was talking about in terms of the issue, whatever they were debating or law they were trying to pass. She had left a session the day or two before, and a couple of men, senators, fellow colleagues, were walking next to her. And one of them said, "You are a fucking bitch." Right? So this woman gets up and she says this speech for 10 minutes. And it was right on the money. It was the lioness. And what she was saying was, this shit's been going on for too long. This isn't about a law. This isn't about the way we're structured in a patriarchal procedural process. This is about respect and love and honor. And so basically she was saying, shut the fuck up.
Yep.
And listen to me. Now, in my own experience, in my experience with my brothers, in my observations, in my own commitment to being open, what I'm noticing is this, and I don't mean this towards you. I mean it towards you as much as I do me. I don't mean it toward anyone specifically, but it's time to let them talk. It's time to let them, I mean, if you look at the airwaves, if you look at the politicians, if you look at the religious institutions, even the Tibetan organization, right? The Dalai Lama, they're all men. Come on. Well, how much more do we need to understand that energy, which is in us, has been suppressed? And because we're in a physical representation of the energetic field, it only makes sense to hand the ball over to them. And I'm telling you, that's not an easy thing, because there's layers and layers and layers and subtleties. And it's the over talking to me and myself that presents to me my own fears, that's what I do. I start, you know, it's a distraction, it's a distortion, and it's there's a, you know, like a line put between me and what I can become conscious of in myself. And I think this is how the whole thing is playing out collectively. That shift is occurring, and at the root of that shift is her taking the lead, which requires the false power to be given up, which is way beyond how the institutions are structured, how households are structured. It's a full-blown paradigm change. And they've had the etheric balls to blow the door down. And now you're seeing all these women step up. And now the pressure's on the masculine energy to surrender. It's that simple, you know.
I agree with you 100%.
Fabienne, does any of that ring a bell with you? I don't know how you guys are set up, Bryan, but I mean, like when we connect, she's most all of the information's coming through her. Mine doesn't get verbalized, really. I mean, I know Bryan connects, and I know his relationship with Archangel Michael and so on. But I mean, are you receiving intel, either one of you, in regard to what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, we have. I wouldn't say. Well, yeah, we have. We've gotten some from Michael and Adama, and I think they were. Was it Michael? Was, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Talking about part of this transition as we go through this cosmic changing of the guard from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius, that part of what is, and this goes back again, we were talking about Atlantis a minute ago, coming more out from the mental body, coming into the emotional body, or coming out of the mind. Oh, I'm going to manipulate my world down here with my intelligence, versus, which is a masculine, and then I'm gonna beat the shit out of that square peg until I make it go in that round hole, because that's how we do it. To no, we're moving into the emotional body, we're moving into the intuition, the inner knowing, and those are characteristics that come with the divine feminine and the softness and the divine, the innate wisdom. And so yeah, we've had these conversations, exactly what you're talking about.
It really feels like making that one true connection between your sacred mind and your sacred heart, so they can work in unison.
Yeah,
it's not really giving up one for the other, but it's to make the space for the energies to be complementary.
Yeah, because humanity, we were all taught to shut off our hearts. We shut down our heart space connections to each other.
Well, I don't think the women ever did that. I don't think they ever fully complied with that. Let me put it that way.
Well,
but they certainly
I believe that everybody who's walking the earth plane has, through the experiences that we have built up those etheric shields.
Absolutely.
And,
yeah.
I mean, even me as a woman, I've been in very masculine mental energy, also being an Aquarius, which is adding to that mental energy. And I've had to also learn to be okay with just being in that softness. And,
well, I try to always like put everything into the boots on the ground terms, right? And what's it really like to be in your shoes or my shoes or her shoes or his shoes. So if I look at the dynamics of what we're talking about, it would be like, let's say that you had a function in a work atmosphere, and the term that comes to mind is retraining, right? So in other words, let's say you have this feminine energy over here, this masculine energy over here, and that you so brilliantly described with the analytical, the intelligent, and then the hammering the square peg into the round hole, whatever. And over here you have this quiet, this kind of works. It's kind of like the Wilma on the Flintstones, how he would go out and he would have all these ideas, and then she just held space. So you say, okay, we're going to go a new direction. We're going to reinvent the corporation. We're going to reinvent the business. We've tried this square peg, round hole, hammer, warrior stuff. now we're going to try this. Now, here's the thing. Who are you going to put in charge of the training? The one who's embedded with the imprints of the patriarchal, who doesn't even understand how second nature it is to him? Are you going to give it to the one over here who kept the flame alive, okay, who kept that network alive, who had that intuition to the higher, to the higher realms? Are they going to be in charge of the training? That's how I see it. Now, it's not going to be an inequality, but there has to be a period of time until, like you said, Fabienne, the repetition builds the second nature of the new paradigm. It's just, I'm talking in terms of practicality, of pragmatics, of reality, of, we're not up there and we're not fully down here. It's a mix. And that's where the retraining, I think, comes in we all know that we have to embody all this information out there. They've been plugged in the women's intuition, and they're more familiar with it. And they haven't been the vehicle for the patriarchal. So they don't have the imprints that are so deep. There's less stuff to clear, so I kind of see how that's playing out in our human, day-to-day interactions. And it looks like it's inevitable to me, which I think
I agree with you. And I think it's time. I mean, it's time for more of the men to begin stepping up and meet us here in this space.
Hell, I don't know where that space is. I'm looking for them. I mean, I'm just looking at her and saying and watching. I'm still keeping my individuality, and I'm still keeping, but I mean, this is the beginning. This is like, if I think I've made changes within myself and released, patterns and behaviors that were deeply embedded in me as an alpha male or as a warrior or whatever, I'm not kidding myself. There are layers and layers and layers and layers. And I know this, and I think we all know this.
Oh my God, it doesn't seem to stop, does it? Cleaning and clearing, and you think you're done, and then nope, there's more layers to the onion. And so, I mean, I guess, welcome back to planet Earth and the Ascension timeline. Hey.
Well, I think the two things that you guys read were excellent, and really that pretty much said it all, because that gave you the feminine's energy and message and frequency and offering, and then the masculine with, well, it was kind of backwards. You asked the questions that were answered in what you said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like, because there is some strong attributes to all of our masculine, true masculine energy, and vice versa. Wow.
So, Todd, do you mind if I share a few other things?
Go ahead.
So I'm sure that most of your audience will be well tuned in to the Lion's Gate, and kind of what that means for them. And of course, there's a lot of interpretations out there, but I found just a few notes that really resonated with us, and I thought, since we are on the 8/8, might be appropriate just to share a little bit. So this first one comes from a lady named Celia Finn, and she's a messenger. She's very well connected with Big Mike, and this message came out on July 24th, and so she's talking about the Lion's Gate. And so this is a quote. She says, "The Lion's Gate is the planetary new year. Another diamond spiral of time is being birthed through the Leo gateway of the 8/8. The royal lion guardians of yesterday and tomorrow stand posted at the gateway, ready to admit those who are balanced in their hearts to the sacred spiral of masterful co-creation on planet Earth. And so that was a quote. And then she says, of course, we see that the Blue Star Sirius is coming up with the sun right now in our northern hemisphere. And she's talking about that we're releasing the old to make space to activate this new spiral of time. She and Big Mike do make note that we still have some balancing and clearing to do. And so we are encouraged to resolve, to find our inner peace and stability to support our own path forward. So those are a few things that Celia Finn had to say.
By the way, by Big Mike, he's referring to Archangel Michael.
Oh, I know.
Not that, yeah, you know, because you're a
I know.
Michael's kid.
Oh, you're just letting everybody know.
You're a Michael's kid, but I don't know if
Okay. So, and so Meg Benedicte, she's another one that we like to listen to. It was every once in a while, but she says we're undergoing a global reset and restructuring, and that this is the collapsing timeline of duality, which really makes sense, Todd. That's what we've been talking about a lot on this show today, is this collapsing timeline of duality. And so we're star beings who traveled far and wide to be here at this particular time. We are emissaries of New Earth, and we do believe that, absolutely. Influx now of courage, strength, and heart expression. No longer will we tolerate violence and injustice toward one another. The Lion's Gate arrives on 8/8. In numerology, the infinity of the 8 is the symbol of balance, union, and infinite abundance. We use the infinity 8 to neutralize and transcend discordant, polarized forces, creating still point balance within our being. Through this process, we establish a null zone, a 0-point field in our heart and mind, centered in the eternal now. We are embodying the 5D principles of unity consciousness. So I like that very much, because Fabienne actually teaches quite a bit about the infinity breath and how this can be utilized for our benefit. And we both have found personally that this type of exercise, very simple, very, very simple, but very effective, just learning to connect up to source, Mother Gaia, and everything, of course, being centered in the still point of the heart space. So thank you for letting me share that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we got to get out here, get ready for the next show. But I had a lady came on last week, I think, this past week, and she was an astrologer, and she said, I'll do your chart and I'll do it online and, show people. And that. So that's cool. We've never done that. But there was a couple of things that came up. I've never been tied to that stuff. But I've also noticed how there's a cyclical nature, like for instance, Lionsgate. And when I met Morgan, she's like, hey, watch out for the Lionsgate. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then these extraordinary things would happen. And so I knew there were, and with the solstices and so on. So one of the things I saw was this, and this all happened at the same time when this lady came on, Sally. It was a quote by JP Morgan. And he said that millionaires don't follow astrology, but billionaires follow the planetary alignments, follow astrology. I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then when she did the show, she said to me, and I think it was a quote from Plato or I don't even know. It doesn't matter. The stars are not meant to rule us. We are meant to rule the stars. And I started to think about that. I thought, this is what I'm feeling. It's almost like we got to a certain point with every template and everything that was laid out. And now we're on our own. And it's not any of the old templates that are going to work. They were just guiding us to get us to a certain point. And now we're at a space where we're combining that old with our experience to create something new. And this is where I go back to the transmission I got last night, where they actually told me that what more could you ask for than to have this big soul of soup, soul soup, this big one soul, this one entity, and be able to push the envelope with it, knowing that you've got nothing to lose but to fall back into her loving arms. We are creating a higher truth. And these templates that have gotten us to this certain point, to include the planetary and celestial formations, we can alter those. I mean, anything goes. And, I like what you said earlier about, you want to do it right. And so here we are.
Here we are.
And thank you so much for coming in today and being so open. Yeah. I feel like,
always a pleasure to connect with you, bro. And we appreciate you taking the time to be with us and to invite us onto your program. We thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hopefully see y'all in the flesh before too long.
That'd be awesome.
I know it would be.
Morgan for us.
I will. I'll give her a hug. I'll give her a virtual hug for you. All right. Take care. Thank you so much.
Good luck on the rest of your programs today. Best of luck. I'm sure they'll be great.